Ask you to tell us your name.
Okay, Jim Beck.
Um, Tell me something that's that is inspiring about turning 60. Something that's great and awesome because turning 60 sometimes has negative connotations. So, what can you say that feels great about turning 60?
For me, as I got older, when I turned 50, it was kind of it felt like a milestone, and I felt a little, I felt old. And as the years went by, when I reached 60, it was like I have renewed energy just for myself. I actually feel better about everything. I'm a lot more relaxed. I know exactly what I want to do now. So it's a really refreshing change. I just feel a lot better now than I did 10 years ago.
So that being said, 60 to the number 60, is it just a number to you? It's not really, is it a state of mind? Is it a number? Is it
It's just a number. It's 50 was a state of mind. I felt old. And 60, I feel young. I feel great. I have a lot of things that are going really good for me now, which helps. It's just, I feel like everything in my life settled down. And this is a good time for me. It's a really good time for me.
it's only feeling comfortable in your own skin and things
Yep.
have fallen into place and you're not so worried about, some people worry about their careers or achieving things.
That's true. I think I've done just about everything that I want to do, so I'm very relaxed at this point in my life. This is good for me. This is really good. I think about this every now and then too, about being 60, and it doesn't. It's a number. That's all it is. And I've talked to friends of mine, and we all seem to feel about the same. It's just a number. That's all it is.
That's really interesting. Because I think I'm under the impression, I guess, that I think 60, a lot of people are like terrified of being 60, that it seems really old. Tell me what you think of as old then. If 60 doesn't seem old, what number would seem old to you?
50 seemed old to me.
Okay.
As funny as that sounds, and then, like I said earlier, as the years have gone by, I've just become more relaxed. And now, 60 it's nothing. I feel good. I'm very happy with everything that's going on right now.
Do you feel that women or men have a harder time getting older? Everything you just said sounds like you don't have a hard time getting older, but do you think, that being said, do you think women have a harder time getting older than men have a harder time getting older? Or dealing with getting older? Like freaking out about it, maybe?
The people that I know, I would have to say that secretly men have a harder time with the age. Uh, I don't know why. I don't. I know a lot of people that are around my age, and I think that the men have a little bit of a harder time with it.
Why secretly? Don't they, do you and your buddies, the usual suspects, do you ever talk about, you and your buddy friends talk about getting older or?
Oh yeah, we do. But a lot of people, I think for men, is that, and I don't want this to come out wrong, but they had careers or they still have careers, and they see this coming to an end. Whereas women have careers, but the majority, well, not the majority, but there are probably more women that are not working leading up to this point in their life than there are men. Men built careers. Men had, they did this, they did that, they accomplished these things. And a lot of them, they find it hard to walk away from it. They all want to walk away from it, but it's hard to let go. Like myself, I retired, went to school, and I'm working again for something to do, and I love it. I think that's what keeps me going is, I'm not sitting home. And I know I've talked to other people and they say, oh, I'm going to do this and that. And then when we start talking about it, it's like, well, what am I going to do? I worked my whole life and that's what I hear. And I just tell them, just do whatever you want to do.
Right, so men are identified by their career. So when their career is over, they don't know who they are perhaps or what they should be doing.
I don't know that it's not who they are. I think it's what they accomplished. They don't want to walk away from that accomplishment. Some of them do, and they can always look back on it, but they're not. It takes a while to get in the right frame of mind to walk away and look back at your accomplishments. They want to still be accomplishing things.
Is that called a midlife crisis?
At 60, I think it's a little beyond midlife.
Well, now 60 they said is a new midlife, so I guess we're gonna
Okay.
be 120.
Yeah, well,
That's awesome.
I don't know about that, but yeah.
That's what I
I feel better now than I did 20 years ago.
So what does the word retirement mean to you? Because you retired and now you're working again because you like to work.
Mhm.
You like what you do. So what does retirement? Will you ever retire? Will you ever like actually not work and just be retired?
Wait for that.
Yep. I will retire. I enjoy what I do now. Every day that I go to work, I'm accomplishing something. I'm helping out the place that I work at. I bring a lot to the table there because I am older and I have done a lot of things. So it's nice they look at me as a fresh face with fresh ideas that a lot of them they've never really even considered. So that makes me feel good, but in a few years' time, I'll be done. I don't want to work forever. I feel good, but not ready to do this anymore. You know, short time, couple years.
Yeah, I'll come back to you in a couple of years and see if you're still working.
Give me 1 second.
Sure. So retirement means different things to different people. So some people, when they retire, they just sit around. Other people keep active and doing things, which sounds like what you're doing. And let me ask you this, is there age discrimination in your job because you are 60 compared to the younger people in
Yes,
There is?
yes.
Do you see that within your organization, your company, like with all ages or just kind of your age or the younger age?
Except for maybe 3 people by me, I'm probably twice the age at least of everybody. So yes, I see it. It's very discreet, but I do see it. And it's funny because it was nothing that I was looking for, but it's out there. And it's probably always been out there, but until I reached this point in time, I never noticed it.
But the company you work with now, you were able to get a job how long have you been there?
Where I'm at now, just over 2 years at the hotel that I'm at now.
So obviously you got a good recommendation from the last place? But
Yes.
So before that, was it hard to get a job because of your age or no?
It was a little hard to get a job, but I was kind of looking when I was working at one hotel because I wanted to advance. So I was able to get in where I'm at, and getting in, once I got there, it was the interview process and everything was very fair. You know, it was really good. I didn't think anything of it. But after I started working there for a while, I kind of saw people that were at my level there, the difference in how they were treated, the way they were talked to, and not necessarily in public, but in private. So, yeah, it's there.
Not
But
necessarily in a good way.
no, it wasn't in a good way.
Well, that's a shame. So things really haven't changed a whole lot.
Well, to be honest with you, where I'm at now, I work for somebody that's less than half my age. She's been there 10 years, and in all the years that I've worked, she's one of the smartest people I've ever worked for, and it's absolutely amazing to me on how much she actually listens to things that I suggest, or when we talk about things, I can bring up a lot more ways to look at something, even though she's been there as long as she has. So that's a nice feeling. Where I'm at now is good. Where I was at, it was different.
Not
It
so
was
good.
different.
So she's treating you like an equal and not like.
Oh yeah, yeah,
Treats
definitely,
you with respect.
definitely.
That's great.
Yep.
That's great. Let's switch gears a little bit.
Pause it just for a second.
Compared to 10 years ago, 10, 15 years ago, what things are more important to you now? Would you say?
Enjoying life. I'm not working to enjoy life anymore, although what I'm doing now finances my travel. But I don't have to worry about a career anymore. This is an industry that I've always wanted to be in. So for me, this is fun. This isn't a job that I have to go to every day. I mean, I go to work every day, but I don't have to be there to live anymore. I'm doing this because this is something I want to do. So 10 years ago, I was working so I could live the rest of my life. And now this is just another piece of living the rest of my life. It's very nice. It's great going to work every day. I actually look forward to it.
So it's for enjoyment. It's not for advancing a career or accomplishing a certain goal in your career. It's just you like it. So
That's right. And I'm not going to be in this industry. I'm not going to work forever in this industry. So I already know in my mind is how far I can go. So I'm not looking to advance. I've been given more responsibility than I ever thought I would have where I'm at now, which is great. But as far as moving up the ladder, that's not important to me anymore. It's not a goal. I'm not working for that. I'm working because I enjoy doing what I'm doing. And working in the industry that I'm in, you meet so many people from all over the world, and I love that. That's what I look forward to, is just meeting guests and working with the different staffs that work for me. It's great. It's nice.
that's awesome. So anything else that's important to you? That's other than the work thing?
Well, because I'm getting older, friends and family. Obviously, I'm aging, my family's aging, so it's very important to me that I keep in really close contact with my parents. They live quite a ways away. I talk to my dad every day, which has become a big part of my life for like the last 10 years. It's the daily phone call. It's gotten to the point where he actually sits by the phone and waits for me to call at a certain time. It's really funny. But so friends and family are what's important to me now. Not myself. I'm good. So I don't have to. I'm out of the equation now.
That seems to be a common theme, I think. I think as we get older, people that hear that all the time and read it, that friends and family are more important, and quality friends and quality family, because the years are dwindling down. So it's not like hanging out at clubs anymore and all the kind of things we used to do that seemed so important. Though it's priorities, I think, have changed.
Plus, when you're younger, you're building your life, and I've built mine now. So now I'm actually living my life that I spent all those years working for, even though my idea of retirement is going to school and then finding a job in a totally different field that I always wanted to get into, but versus sitting home and doing things that retired people do, which is sit home, shop here, go there. I still do those things, but I'm active in a lot of other ways.
So maybe this is the new retirement for people our age. This is the new kind of retirement, is going to school and traveling and not sitting home and not in in our parents' day, maybe sitting in the rocking chair or.
Right. Well,
You know.
going to school was something that I never had a chance to do for a lot of reasons. I never had a chance to go to school. So when I knew I was going to be retiring, I enrolled and decided I want to do this. When I started going to school, I was thinking to myself, this is the dumbest thing I've ever done in my life. I hadn't been in school for over 30 years. So going to school and being in college, every day I would ask myself, what what were you thinking when you did this? But after a semester, and I had young kids that spent a lot of time getting me up to speed on everything. So it was easy after that. And it turned out that by the end of my first year, I was actually helping the kids. It was funny. They would always come to me, and even the instructors saw it, and they would, there were people that I got to be good friends with that were instructors, and can you spend some time with so-and-so? And so going to school after I retired is probably one of the best things I ever did in my life, for the education, the experience, and the things I was able to do at school and with school.
And it gave you, sounds like a renewed energy, like it was like, okay, this is the right thing to do. Even though you were scared in the beginning, it's like once you got into it and helping everybody, and everybody accepted you, and it became easy and fun, it's like, okay, this is what I was meant to do. It was a right decision to go back to school and try something new.
After I was in about halfway through everything, it just dawned on me that this is something that everybody should do when they're young, because it makes so much of a difference. I thought I knew a lot of things. Found out I didn't know as many things as I thought I did. But the education, it's one thing that I will actually treasure that experience the rest of my life. It was a great thing to do. It helped me where I am now.
That's awesome. I went back to school, as you know, a few years ago, and just took some music classes just for the fun of it, not any inkling of getting any degree or anything. And it really opened my eyes. And yes, like you, I was scared. But everybody was, you felt like the old lady in class, because everybody was younger. But nobody treated me any differently, and I learned a lot, and I met some awesome people. The professor was like maybe 15 years older than me, and he was awesome and jumping around the classroom. So it was, yeah, I will always treasure that too. It was a good thing for me to do at that time. It kind of got me out of a little funk or something at the time. So yeah. So will you take any other classes ever again?
I've
Like
thought
just for fun?
about it. I thought about taking something at night. I've been looking into things just because I think it would help me with what I'm doing now in a management position, and because they look like interesting things to do. And there's things that I think I would learn by taking a class here or there that I can just use for the rest of my time. So yeah, I'm looking at it. I'm
Okay.
looking at it real seriously.
Some people, oh sorry.
So I'm just gonna write a note. Yeah, thank you.
Let's talk about bucket lists. 60 is a milestone, as some people think as they get older that they should, the latest thing now is a bucket list, and like they need to live life more or do more, like kind of a sense of urgency to get all these things completed. Do you feel that, number one, do you have a bucket list?
Yes.
Can you share what's on the bucket list? If you want to.
I can tell you what I haven't done yet. I want to take one trip around the world. I want to go take individual trips to a few cities. Let's see, what else haven't I done? I did pretty many things. It's not a big list.
Do you feel like you have to accomplish those things on the bucket list? Like it's like a sense of urgency?
No, I don't think I have to do anything on that list. I think a bucket list is just something that comes out of your own mind, and you jot down sometimes unattainable goals on a piece of paper, and it's all it is. It's lines on a paper. It's nothing. I mean, it is whatever you make it.
Why do you think people do that though? Why do you think people create bucket lists?
Honestly, I think right now it's the thing to do. I mean, 20 years ago, if you'd have talked to people, how many people would have had a bucket list? It seems like it's really grown in popularity through the years. And I think people have bucket lists and they don't even realize it. It's dreams that they want to attain. One of my things was going to school. I always wanted to go to school. And then I went and I thought, oh yeah, it's just something I always wanted to do. So when it got to that point, I started looking back at things that I had written down 25 years ago and realized that it was just things that I did it and never even realized that they were on a list. So the bucket list is,
So now it's just kind of like what it's labeled as now is a bucket list, whereas before it was just things I want to do in my life.
right. I think people put way too much importance on a bucket list. They decide they're going to do it, and as they're doing it, they get so into it that, I really need to check these things off. And sometimes you just can't do what's on there. It's just becomes physically impossible or mentally impossible or financially impossible. So yeah, you do a lot more in your youth than you think you do, and when you get older, you can't do as much. You start to slow down, and it's just an inevitable thing. You just can't do everything. There's a lot of things you can do when you're older than you can't do when you're younger, but a list is a list. That's all it is.
And I have a problem with lists. Like the bucket list. It just seems like that's just one more thing I gotta do. It's like so much pressure to, like you say, cross it off the list. And like just live life. You just live life. I think it's just you're always looking at that bucket list. So I gotta climb Mount Everest. I gotta, whatever. It's just, I don't know, it seems
If
you put
you
too
don't-
much pressure on yourself.
I think if you don't think about it, you'll actually get more accomplished.
I agree. I think that's true. Yeah. I read a statement, or from a movie actually, a quote was, "I feel so incomplete, like I'm supposed to be doing something." How do you think about that? What do you think about that?
I don't feel incomplete, but I do feel like I should be doing something. That's why I'm not sitting home. When I retired actually retired, and then a company hired me back to go in and train for about 6 months. And I was home for 2 weeks, and I thought, oh, this is great, this is great. I'm home, I'm retired. After 5 days, I was ready to scream. I can't sit home. I mean, I can go on vacation for a couple of weeks, don't get me wrong, that's great, but I can't sit home. And I think that was in the back of my mind when I decided to go to school and when I decided to work again.
Does it bother you, or when people, like some people are content with doing nothing and not ambitious and don't feel the need to do a lot of things like you do? Do you think, what am I trying to say? I think that it's okay for some people to be content, and if that's what they want to do, that's what they want to do. I can't judge people by if they want to sit home and watch TV for the rest of their lives, or go to get the fish fry every Friday for the next 25 years. Do you have a thought on content versus ambitious? I don't know if ambitious is even the right word, but I think you know what I mean.
I think being content, people that retire and decide that they don't want to work anymore, that's fine. It's not for me. It's not up to me to question anybody with anything that they do. And likewise, with me working, I have friends that ride me constantly, but yet they're still working, and we're the same age. And I always tell them, well, when are you going to retire? Well, I don't want to retire yet. So the argument comes from people that are still working. They haven't retired yet because they don't want to let go of their job. But because I retired and went back to work, I'm kind of still working. But to them, it's like, well, you were done. That's the cutoff when you retire. And if you don't want to do anything, that's fine. I'm doing this because it's something I like to do. It's like if you retire and you take up painting and you travel around the country and paint scenic pictures everywhere. I go to a hotel and work, and that's what I like to do.
And you like doing it, so why not?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. What would you tell younger people about reaching the age of 60 or turning 60? What would you have to say to them about it?
Don't fear 60. It's just a number. It's nothing. said earlier, I feel great. I learned at 50 that it's just a number. I dreaded turning 50. I don't know why. It was just a number in my mind, and it was terrible for a few months. It really bothered me. And now I had a birthday, big deal. I'm doing things that make me happy. I have good friends. We get together, and we don't do everything that we did when we were younger, obviously, but we still manage to do enough to keep things interesting. And
You still have fun. You still do things. You're still interested in life.
Oh,
You're
yeah.
still-
Oh yeah, I would probably tell people, don't worry about it, just take care of yourself so you can enjoy it. Because if you don't take care of yourself, it doesn't matter how old you get, if you damage your body when you're younger, it's gonna take its toll later on. Like, I always tried to take care of myself, but in the industry that I was in, it took a physical toll on me. So there are times where things that just, my body was kind of damaged when I was younger. And as I got older, I can still do pretty much everything I want to do. There are just a few physical restrictions that I can't do certain things. So take care of yourself. Don't worry about the number. Everything will work out just fine.
Everything will work out
Just fine.
Oh. What would you tell them about getting older and being able to still have dreams and opportunities and enjoying life? Because it seems that some young people think, oh, you get older and you're old and you get sick and you die, and it's like, But as I can see, a lot of people are still doing a ton of things. So what kind of advice would you give them on that?
Well, first of all, people are more active now than they were, even when they're getting older, than they were a generation ago. Even like the baby boomers, the front end of that, it was a little different mindset than the back end of it. I think they were raised in the late 40s, very early 50s. I'm from the mid 50s, so I think the life in general when they were younger got a little bit better as things went on, and I'm trying to think where I was going with this. I lost my train of thought. I'm sorry.
Change real. We can come back to it.
Okay, yeah, you'll have to, because I lost my whole train of thought here. I don't know what happened. Age, that's what happens. You lose your train of thought. That's it for this year. I'm done. I haven't had it happen to me, and it just did. So
There you go, another sign of old age.
Yeah,
Old
exactly.
age has- Let me ask you about relationships, like a significant other kind of a relationship. Is that important to you as you get older?
yes, it is. I don't have a significant other, but yes, it is important. I think I don't care what they say, nobody wants to grow old alone. You need to have companionship. But I make up for it with friends. I've managed to keep a lot of my friends and meet new people through my life. And even though I live by myself, I'm single, and they're married, we still have a lot of common ground that we get together with a variety of people. So I'm active with them. It works out. A relationship, it's great. I've had relationships through my life. Some of them haven't been so good. Some of them have been great. Made a lot of mistakes, but it's not anything that I have to live. I'm fine with what I do now. I have great friends, so that's what matters to me the most right now.
Yeah, I don't disagree. I think it seems that some people that reach this age, they feel like they can't live life alone. They need a significant other. Or for the rest of us, it's like, if I had a relationship, if I have one, That's awesome. I'm not gonna turn it down, I'm not gonna shut the door on it, but I'm not seeking it out also. And I think some people kind of maybe frown on that, like, well, don't you want to? I'm like, well, sure, I'd love to be in love, but if that's not right there, right now, I can't make that happen. As you, I have an awesome, full life, amazing friends. I do many things that I love to do, so, a relationship, yeah, I don't know where I'm going with that either.
Yeah, no, but that's true. If a relationship pops up, that's great. I've been single for so long, I've kind of gotten past the whole, oh, gee, I should be married. Why am I not married? And
So is marriage important to you or not? Or is, like, a relationship can be with somebody but not married? Do you have to be married?
No.
To,
no, this is all my opinion. No, I don't. I'm 60. I made it this far, and I was married. I'm not married now, and I'm doing just fine. I don't have to have that. A long-term relationship, I'm not in one, and it's not important. It's not something that I dread. I think when you're younger, there's pressure from your friends. They're all falling in love and people are getting married. And as you get older, it's, well, why am I not like this? And you look at yourself as something being wrong. There's nothing wrong. I'm not, really, other than the companionship, I'm not missing anything for me personally.
And what about the loneliness factor? Do you get lonely? Does that bother you as you get older? I don't see you as getting lonely, truthfully. I don't see that, but I don't know. Would a relationship necessarily cure that? Maybe not.
I'm
answering for you. Sorry.
I can give you two answers. I can give you a straight answer and a funny answer. A straight answer is I don't think about it. It doesn't bother me. I don't miss it. I definitely don't think about it. On the funny side, I have a parrot that talks, and I can get nagged as much as I want. So, he squawks. I just come home and where were you? And, it's like, I got to do this, I got to do that. It's like, yeah, I got it. Don't worry. So, yeah.
So that takes care of maybe the little loneliness
Yeah.
kind of thing. Sure.
Yeah, it's sad in a way, but it's fine. I know people. I go out, I socialize, I do things, but I don't really think about it. I guess just from being single for so long, it hasn't become an important facet of my life that I have to fill. It's if something happens, fine. If it doesn't, I'm fine.
I've had friends suggest that because I'm single and unattached that I must be terrifically lonely and unhappy. And I'm like, do I look unhappy? I don't think I look unhappy. So I think there's that stigma perhaps that because we're older and single and unattached that our lives are terrible. But I don't know.
But that's two different lives. You're talking about somebody that's married in a relationship. They've been in that relationship, let's say 25 years, okay? And you haven't been in, like myself, I haven't been in a relationship for so long. So you can't compare the two. I know people that are married, they're happy. I know people that are married, they're not happy. I know people that are single, and I've never heard one of my friends that are single ever say, geez, I got to get married. It's the only way I'm going to be happy. How you doing? I'm doing great. Do you need to get married? No. It's different. It's different. People that are married or have been in a long-term relationship, and as they get older, it becomes harder to let go. And when you're older, it becomes harder to get attached to something like that again. When you're younger, it's easier. I think when you're older, it's harder. I just think that it just becomes, not for everybody, but I would say for the majority of people, it's not important to live. You're living your life. You've made it this far. You don't have to be married to live your life. You can be just fine.
You don't need to be married to be a whole person and a
Exactly.
happy person, and yeah. So 60 is 60 is pretty awesome right now.
Yes, it is.
I think so too. Now I have kind of a, you know, big question. Tell me your thoughts about your own mortality.
Well, my own mortality. I think I'm going to live for a long time yet. I'm very careful with what I do so I don't hurt myself. I've done pretty much everything I wanted to do. So I'm not really missing out. If something would happen, I'm not going to miss out on anything. I did a lot of things. And just, if I can give you an example, when I was younger, I would travel a lot. And people would always tell me, I couldn't believe how often I would hear this. Why don't you wait till you get older and do it when you retire, or do it when you get older? Why do it now? And I would tell people, because I go on vacations and I spend the whole day walking cities. And I see people that are older get on a tour bus at a hotel, go to a museum, go to a restaurant, and go back to the hotel. What do they see? They look out the window, zipping through a city. I'm walking around everywhere. Something could happen to me physically, and I wouldn't be able to get around, and I'd miss out on. My idea of vacation is going out, walking everywhere, and going up and down all the side streets. That's where you see a city. You don't see it on the main boulevard. You see it on the side streets. Tour buses don't do that for you. So now, being older, as long as I take care of myself, I think I'll be just fine. I'll live a nice long life, be able to get around just fine. I can still do a lot of things. I look forward to doing a lot more traveling. Maybe even taking some friends along one of these days. But who knows? You know, I'm not afraid of growing old. I made it this far. And I found out that the older you get, the better things get for you. You know, it's nice.
That's so awesome.
Life gets better as you get older. It does. Because when you're young, like I said earlier, you have to build your life. I built my life. Now I can live it. So this is great. This is a great place to be right now.
You can let go of things. I found that letting go seems to be pretty cool right now. It's just comfortable in your own skin, and you're not super worried about impressing people, and you just do what you want to do, and it's like, it's refreshing. It just feels good to not have to like worry about a lot of stuff. Let go.
That's that whole impressing people. That's something that it's always in the back of my mind, and I didn't think of it till you mentioned it. I used to go out and I would meet my friends or my friends' friends, and you would have to act a certain way. Now I go out and I meet friends, and they meet Jim, and this is Jim. I mean, he behaves, but I don't have to act a certain way for everybody that I meet anymore. And it's funny too, because when you get older, you meet people and they're just more relaxed around you. You know, you can just be yourself. You can sit down and have a conversation. If you're sitting with a group of people and there's a conversation and you don't know something about something, don't pretend you do. I just sit there and just keep my mouth shut and listen. If there's something that I can chime in with about something that I do know in the conversation, fine. But, you know, you don't have to impress anybody when you get old. You already know everything you're going to know. You can still learn things, but you know most of what you're going to know. And if you don't know something, don't pretend that you do. That's the dumbest thing people do, I think.
I just read that somewhere, and I totally agree with you. It's like, just, you don't have to know everything. You don't have to know everything. You're learning from people, and that's even better, I think. I don't know.
Well,
you know as much as you're going to know, as much as you want to know, and if you can glean things from other people, awesome.
I think when you get older, you learn to listen better. And somebody that works for me told me one time, and I looked at this person because I thought, that's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. And after about 5 minutes, it made the most sense to me ever. She said, you don't know what you don't know until you don't know. And if you think about it, why would you say something like that? but when you really stop and think about it, it makes a ton of sense. And for me, it actually gave me a renewed sense of I really need to listen to people talk more. So you don't jump to a conclusion. You don't judge people. You don't start in a conversation not fully understanding, or if you don't know something. That's why I say if I don't know something, I don't say anything, because I don't know.
Why do you think it took us so long to learn all that? Why does it take us till we're 50 or 60 to figure that all out?
Because when you're younger, you know it all. And when you get older, you realize, oh, I don't know that. I don't know about that. It's true. If you think about it, when you're younger, when you're really young, you think you know it all. And then as you get older, oh, I didn't know that. Now I know it all. And then when you get older at this age, oh, I don't know. It's just a realization you don't know it all, because there's so many things going on now that you're more aware of. In the world, as an example, there's so many things going on now that you become more in tune with what's happening on the other side of the world. Whereas when you're younger, oh, I work, I got to go home, I got to do this. You don't have the time. Now I make time to learn more. So yeah, it's different. I think when you're younger, you know it all. And when you get older, you start to realize there are things that I need to learn.
Things I need to learn, and things that I'm okay if I don't know it all.
Yeah.
It's okay if I don't know it all.
Hmm.
You can just be yourself and be authentic and just live your life, and then, not worry about anybody else. Anything else you would like to add to this conversation about being 60 or aging, growing older? About yourself or other people you know?
It's funny because some of my friends, when we were younger, it was always, you didn't want to get old. But now that we're older, I just see in the people that I know, and even in my parents. Now, my parents are much older than me. I see things now that I never saw before. I see how comfortable they are, because my dad, when he retired, when I was working, I had this job and I was going to work at this job forever. Ever had an ending coming to it. But I'm learning things. I'm picking things up. I'm learning things faster now than I did when I was younger. I research things more, which I never did before. I think when you get older, you have a little more time, and life slows down. It's not the fast pace anymore. So you can see things coming and you can research something. You can look into something. Not afraid to ask a question about something, whereas before, yeah, it was kind of hard sometimes to ask a question because you didn't look like you didn't know something. Now, to tell you the truth, if somebody looks at me like, how could you not know that? I could care less. It's life slows down when you get older, so you have more time to look at things and digest what's coming at you and how you're going to react to things. Whereas when you're younger, life is quick, life is fast, the pace is fast. You don't see things coming. You don't take time to plan ahead for things.
So take time. We can take time now to smell the roses, in a sense.
Well, yes, and because, with getting back to the life slows down, you're not living in that fast business world anymore. You're not raising young children where you're running around all the time. You have all this time for yourself now, so you can spend more time looking at things and appreciating things. I do things now that I thought I would never do. I spend time when I travel. I go to museums. When I was younger, that would have been the last thing on my list to do, is to go through museums and appreciate what's out there.
Because we don't have to worry about that, as we talked about a few times, worry about that career and the achievement and busting our butt to make ends meet.
That's
All
right.
that's behind us.
That's right.
We can just now focus on the future and enjoying life. And
Hmm.
I have one final question.
Okay.
What's the capital of Utah?
Capital of Utah is, I know it's not Salt Lake City. It is, oh, I should know this too because there's a football team there, a college team. What's the first letter?
I have no idea.
Oh,
Is it? Is it?
I don't know, and I'll probably think of it after you leave, but I know there's a university there. So
I don't know. I'm just.
I
seeing
can't,
if people
no,
know.
I'm sorry, I can't think of what it
That's
is.
okay. That was my trick question.
No, I know where all the states are, and I know most of the capitals, but no, I
I
can't
want to
tell
say
you.
Provo, but that doesn't even. I don't know if Provo's even a city.
No,
Provo,
that,
Utah.
Provo,
How
that
does that sound?
that might be it. I don't.
Do you feel that women or men have a harder time getting older, dealing with getting older?
When I was younger, I would have thought that it was women, but now I believe it's men. They have a hard time giving up their careers. And I mean that's not to say that women that are in a have a career, it's hard. It's not hard for them, but I think men have spent their whole life building whatever it is that they're doing, and it's just very hard to walk away from. And then they realize that they've reached that point in their life and they have to go, and it's very hard to let go.
Good.
I have another question there with this.
You have another question?
Does that seem sad that they have a hard time letting go? That just seems sad to me. And how do they continue on if they have a hard time letting go? Does that mean they're going to be sad for the next 20 years?
I think that's when people ask me that are my age that are going to be leaving their job, they're always going to do this and they're going to do that. And I tell them, the hardest thing that you're going to do is when you walk away from your job is dealing with walking away from your job. It's not as easy for everybody as they think it'll be. You're giving up what was your life up until this point, and now you got to this point doing what you did so you could get beyond where you're at 60.
Right.
And it's tough. Some of these people have been doing it for 40 plus years, and that's 40 years of your life. And if you're 60, you started when you were very young, and a lot of people's mindsets about life outside of the family are based on what they do at work. And then they have to turn around and walk away. It's a relationship you have. You're walking away from a relationship. It can be very painful for a lot of people.
Yeah, how do you do that?
Well, when I retired, the day that I retired because I would have had 43 years in if I was still working there. But I retired because my job closed. I worked in the auto industry, and my part of the industry was closing. So it was fine. I'm going to retire. I'll be out of here. I can't wait to get out of here. No more noise, dirt, this, that, and the other thing. And then it was time to leave work in the morning because we only had to work part of the day and we could leave. And I started to walk to the door, and it got very hard because I didn't even turn around. I didn't turn around. I just started walking down the hall to get to the door to go to the parking lot. And it was like, I did this for 32 and a half years. I'll never do this again. And it didn't hit me until it was time to go, and I said goodbye to some people, that's when it kind of started to set in, when you say goodbye to somebody that you've worked with for 30 some years. It's a relationship you have. 32 years in a relationship with one person, you're walking away.
Right.
Your job is one person. It's a relationship that you build. And it's a good relationship, otherwise you're not there for 32 years. So you leave, and I didn't turn around. Some people ran out the door. it was very hard. I got to the parking lot. I sat in my vehicle for a few minutes. And when I drove away, I still remember I didn't get a block, and I thought, I'm supposed to be at work. Why am I leaving? And then I thought, I'm never going to be doing this again. And it was hard. I retired 5 days out of the 2 weeks I was home. For 5 days, it was great being home, but it was always in the back of my mind. And then after I realized I don't want to be home anymore, it started to come back to me that I get up every day. I did this for all these years. This is where I grew up.
Now you have to do something different.
Do you have to do something different?
Well, you don't, but otherwise you're just going to stay in your bed all day and you're never going to leave your house. So, I mean, eventually you have to develop a new routine and a new relationship with whatever that would be in your new life away from your job of 32 years.
Well, I think one of the things that's making me think now after you say that is, what am I going to do now? For some people, that's true. What am I going to do now? I've done this my whole life. This is my life. What am I going to do now? It's terrible. You're married. Your spouse leaves you. What am I going to do now? Okay, but but then other people is, then you get the other people. Well, should I be doing something now? And I don't want to do anything now. So everybody is a little different, it hits everybody a little harder. For me, I left and I told you it was like, I'm supposed to be at work, and I never looked back. I never looked back, ever. I never looked when I walked through the building, when I got out to my car.
Physically turned around.
Nope, I didn't even look in the mirror till I got a couple miles away. And I went to Starbucks and I sat down and I had a coffee and I contemplated the weight of the world now that I don't have a job. I did. I spent like a half hour after I walked out the door, I was at a Starbucks, as funny as that sounds, drinking a coffee, thinking, what am I going to do now? And by the time I got done with my coffee, I was fine. It took me a cup of coffee to realize,
That's it.
Then all of a sudden I realized, well, yeah, this wasn't sprung on me last minute. I knew this was coming. Now it's time to do something else. Oh, yeah, I wanted to go to school. Do I need to work? No. So I'm going to school. And then it turns out that originally I wasn't really going to work, but I had to do some internships for the 2 degrees that I got. And one of them was working at the American Club for culinary. And I loved it. I loved it. I met so many people working in the kitchen and doing things like in the dining room at stations. Then I started with the hotel management part of it, and I was in hotels. And once I started meeting these people from around the world, oh, this is something I should have done my whole life. Because for me, this is great. Every day, same job, same setting, different people. I don't see the same people every day. People that work for me I see, but I very rarely see them unless they need me, help. I try to do as much hands off as possible. But just the people that come in, this is my life now. I deal with people from around the world on a daily basis, and it's like as an example, you had a different person sit down during this interview and ask me a different question. It's a whole different perspective. I've learned so much from these people. It's just so interesting to talk to them and learn about things. You develop a relationship because some of them are there for quite a long time, which would be 2 to 4, 5, 6 weeks. Mm-hmm. So you develop a relationship with people, and then you can start asking, where are you from? Oh, tell me about it. I really want to know about it.
Right.
And you'd be surprised at how willing people are to talk about, not necessarily all the details in their life, but about where they're from. And you learn. It's every day I learn something new, every day. It's interesting. And that makes you forget about everything that you were doing. That whole job thing, I'm walking away.
That whole job thing.
I'm doing a job now, and every day is different. And when it comes time to leave this job, the only thing I'll miss about this job is friends that I've made because we have a lot of the same people that come in. Mm-hmm. I would say maybe 30 or 40% of the people are repeat every few months, and it's nice. One of the other hotels I worked at, I was on a first name basis with people from the other side of the world. They would come in from China, they would come in from Germany, from France, and the first thing they would do is they'd come up to the desk, and instead of greeting them like you would normally do in a hotel that was a friend walking, and they'd come up and, "Hi Jim," shake your hand, "How you doing? You know, what's going on in the city?" And you're on your way. You know, it was nice. It wasn't like the other job, but that was tough walking away.
Well, it's tough walking away from something you like.
Yeah, it's a relationship.
Right.
It's a relationship.
Yeah. As we all know, those are.
Sometimes they end on a good note, and sometimes they just don't. You know, it's like, why was I here all this time?
And some are extremely devastating.
Yes.
And they throw you for a loop, and
Yep.
then you do have to figure out, what am I going to do now? And you look forward to your future, and what's my future going to be like? Am I going to live out my years alone, and I'll never fall in love again? And you know, that kind of thing.
That's your retirement, though. That was your retirement. You retired from your relationship, and you weren't out on the street, but you're out there, and it's like, well, this is what I did. Now what am I going to do? But now looking
I
back,
didn't want to retire from that, though.
yeah, I know. But now looking back, it's like, why was I questioning what I'm going to do? Look at everything that I've accomplished, and I never thought I would do probably half of the things that I've done.
Right.
You know, so.
Same here.
This is a good place where I'm at now. It's a good place, you know.
If I would have stayed in my retirement, in my job,
Yeah,
my life probably wouldn't be what I'm doing right now.
yeah.
I don't know.
And from every indication, it's a good life right now.
It's an awesome life. As
It's a different life,
It's
but
a
it's
different life.
it's a life that you never pictured. But this is great.
I don't think I was picturing it, because I was picturing myself being married for another 100 years, and so in that married mode, that's where you think you're going to stay.
Yeah,
So I don't picture myself going to school. I mean, I always tried things, but I didn't picture myself going to school or having a cool condo or making tons of new friends and all that, and spending winters in Arizona. That just never. I thought I would be spending winters in Arizona with that person.
and you have all those festivals right out your front
And I
door.
don't know what festivals, as
That-
everybody knows, I'm sick of. There's nothing going on today, though. It's quiet. So, yeah, I think we're good here.
Okay,
Yeah, thank you again.
sure.
It's awesome.
My pleasure.